3, 2, 1.
Hello. All right, today we're going to continue on with cells and we're going to talk about the cell structures, the organelles that are present in cells. We'll start with the outside one, the cell wall. Now, cell walls are only present in plants, algae, fungi, and prokaryotes. What does that leave? Well, that leaves animals. Animals don't have cell walls. And it leaves some protists. Depending on the type of protist, some have cell walls, some don't. Cell wall is outside the membrane, so it's this green part out here. It provides support and protection. It does not control what goes in. Right? Anything small enough will go through. I guess if it's large enough, it'll control it. But basically, it lets whatever's small enough through. It is outside the cell membrane, so right here, even if you have a cell wall, you also have a cell membrane, which we'll talk about in a bit. And it's made of different things in different organisms. Plants make it out of cellulose, which is sugar put together in a certain pattern. And fungi make it out of chitin. So depending on what you are, determines what you make your cell wall out of. It gives rigid support and protection. You can kind of think of it as the skeleton of a plant. Next, we have the nucleus. Nucleus is hugely important because it controls all of the cell's function through DNA and RNA. Here the nucleus was stained blue. The cell is actually dividing its nucleus, so you can actually see the chromosomes. Okay? Chromatin is this spread out DNA. That's what your chromosomes are for most of the life of the cell. Spread out so the proteins can get to them, to read the DNA, to make the RNA. Chromosomes are condensed DNA. So when a cell goes through mitosis, it condenses its DNA so it can manipulate them. Okay? Also, a couple other little things. We have a nucleosome. The nucleosome helps to assemble the ribosomes, which help to read the DNA. Help to read the RNA and make the protein. And then we have nuclear envelope. The nucleus actually has two membranes, double membranes, because it's that important that it wants to protect your DNA. Because if things happen that mess up your DNA, either your cell dies or it could lead to cancer. So it's really bad. We want to protect that DNA. All right. Next, we have the cytoskeleton. This is a series of proteins that help to maintain its shape. Also, if you have a cell without a cell wall, it can help to move it. Okay. Here, the cytoskeleton is green. Okay, the nucleus is that blue dot, and the cell membrane is the reddish orange. But the green is the cytoskeleton. In a amoeba, the cytoskeleton is what helps move the pseudopods, moves the parts of the cell membrane so it can walk. But also, the cell membrane can help to move organelles throughout the cell. Okay. Cell membrane can extend past the cell in two forms. One is a flagella, that's a single tail that helps to propel a microbe, or cilia, which are more common in us. Cilia are little hairs that help to move things along. Okay? If there's enough of them and it's a single-celled organism, it can move the organism, but lots of times, like us, lining our airways and our esophagus and our intestines are cilia to help move things through. Okay. Another organelle that's vitally important is the ribosome. Okay. Ribosomes assemble proteins, and everything in your body that is not a cell is made of proteins, and even most things in cells are made of protein. Okay. We'll talk a lot about how ribosomes make proteins throughout this chapter, but basically they follow the instructions from the nucleus. So the nucleus has RNA. It writes that, brain fart, can't edit this, neat. Nucleus has DNA. It writes that into RNA. The RNA leaves the nucleus, and then that's right down here. The ribosome reads that and builds a chain of amino acids up here, which then goes to form the protein. And that protein could be anything from a digestive enzyme to part of the cytoskeleton to part of your hair or your fingernails or the lens of your eye. Anything that it needs to form. Okay. The next organelle is the endoplasmic reticulum. This is the series of membranes that kind of help the ribosomes. Here in this picture is the endoplasmic reticulum. It's connected to the nucleus and it's dotted with ribosomes. But helps the ribosomes make protein. There's another type of endoplasmic reticulum that is called smooth right here. It's not dotted with ribosomes. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum makes lipids. And lipids are fat molecules, and all of the membranes, every time we talk about a membrane, it's made of lipids, made of fat. So you must have fat in your cells for them to work. Okay? That's why the endoplasmic reticulum also makes membranes, because they're made of lipids. Okay? So the rough ER helps the proteins, helps make proteins with the ribosome, and helps make lipids and therefore membranes. Okay? The next one is the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus is a series of stacked membranes. Okay? They attach carbohydrates and lipids to proteins. Lots of times, especially ones on the outside of cells, are marker carbohydrates. They tell other cells nearby what the cell is, so they'll attach those carbohydrates. They might attach fat molecules to tell the cell where to send something, because then the Golgi apparatus packages and ships proteins throughout the cell and throughout your body. So here you can see little vesicles sprouting off that then take those proteins to other parts of the cell and the body wherever they're needed. Okay. Next one is my favorite, the lysosome. This is a small membrane sac filled with digestive enzymes. It breaks down food molecules, it breaks down old organelles, it helps to clean up the cell, and it's involved in a process called apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. So when your body is done with the cell, it doesn't need it anymore. The lysosomes basically eat the cell from the inside out. Classic example of this is a tadpole's tail. How it gets reabsorbed into the body is through this process with the lysosomes. So lysosomes are awesome. Okay. Then we have a vacuole. Vacuole is just a large sac to store stuff most of the time. A vacuole is in plants. Animals have many smaller ones called vesicles, but plants have a giant one which stores water. This creates a process called turgor pressure. Turgor pressure is what keeps a plant upright. You'll notice if you don't water plants for a while, sometimes they'll wilt and then you water them and relatively quickly they become sturdy and strong again. That's because all they've done is filled their vacuoles with water. Okay? It pushes the cell out to the cell wall and gives it strength. Again, animals, we have vesicles, a bunch of little tiny ones that store different things. Okay? Chloroplasts is another important organelle. Chloroplasts are only in plants and some small microorganisms. Okay? They do photosynthesis. They take the sun's energy and they make food. Now, we're going to go into detail on how photosynthesis works, but for now, all you need is they get CO2, they get water, and they get sunlight, and they turn that into sugar. Okay? There's two series of membranes. There's an outer membrane and an inner membrane, because at one time in the past, they think chloroplasts came into cells by being eaten. So they were their own single-celled microorganism, and then a larger cell ate them. That's why they have two membranes. And they also have a series of stacks inside them, okay, called the granum. Okay. We'll talk about those a lot when we get into the photosynthesis section. Along with the chloroplast, though, you must have a mitochondria. All eukaryotic cells have a mitochondria, and this is what takes the sugar made from the chloroplast and makes energy with it. Okay? So it breaks down whatever sugar you've eaten, and it creates energy using that sugar in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Okay? We'll go into detail on how the mitochondria works as well, but for today, you should realize it also has two membranes, but the inner one is really folded on itself. And the reason it's folded on itself is to give more surface area for lots more reactions. Okay? More reactions you can do in a smaller area, more energy you can get. Now, one thing that I got confused of in 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th and 11th grade is the fact that plants have mitochondria. Yes, they have chloroplasts to make sugar, but then they need mitochondria to break down that sugar to make energy. Okay? So plants also have mitochondria. Okay. One really cool thing about the chloroplasts and the mitochondria is that they have their own DNA. I told you that the prevailing idea is that they were eaten by a larger cell to become part of our eukaryotic cells.